Hi guys, I'm Savannah, and I found my three articles to go over for today. It started out with me just wanting to learn a little more on higher education. I've been in this scene since about 2019 when I was a freshman in college for the first time, and I'm still in it. I'm still going, and I still got a lot more to go. So it's very interesting. It's a lot of fun, but I always want to try and learn more than what I already know so that way I can see if there's something I'm missing. And I started with wanting to know higher education. And so the first title of my first article is The Unifying Role of Learning Across Higher Education. I have the notes right here. And at first I'm like, okay, this makes sense. We're talking about university things, all of that. And then this person, I read what department they're from, and they're from the mechanical engineering department of their university. I'm like, okay, where are we going with this? And then this person starts bringing up antique roots. That's the first section title. Bringing in ancient philosophers, bringing in the Library of Alexandria, talking about the earliest model of a university. I'm like, this is my jam. This is everything I love. I love history for this very specific reason, because everything started somewhere. And so we all started at some point, even universities. The first learning and teaching kind of establishment was started with, teacher, I have a book, you have paper and pen, I read it, you write it, that's how you obtain your book and that's how you obtain the knowledge. That's how it all started. And it's so interesting to see that. But this person from the mechanical engineering department talks about history and research. And this person goes to create an equation for it, which to me normally I would shun because I don't do math. But then they go and talk about R equals T, which stands for research equals teaching. And it's like, okay, that makes sense, because when I started learning how to learn, I had to teach it to that nobody was in the room. Teach it, and then I'd learn it better. And then I keep reading, and this author brings in another letter. R equals L equals T. R research equals learning equals teaching, which fits in perfectly with what I've been doing this entire educational journey of mine. I've gone through and I started researching. I started with my associates and my bachelor's in history, researching all of that jazz. And now I get to the learning portion of it where I'm learning to teach. And then once I understand it, then I get to the teaching part. And it just fits perfectly with what I've been doing. This person ends up ending the conclusion with, develop the tradition from our predecessors. So the predecessors started a learning process, and we've developed it this entire time to get to our unimaginable point where we're at today. And so many times I see the conversation of, well, what can we do to make our education system better? What can we do to improve it? And as a historian, my only thought process is, well, let's take a look at where we start. Let's go back to square one and just make it from there. Just completely redo it, or see what we can do to change it based off of what we had to start with. We had nothing, then we can start from scratch. And I kind of like that. And I just love the history so much for those specific reasons. The second one goes over learning from mistakes, which I really love because we're always going over what can we do in the classroom to make it better, more comfortable for the students, and going over all of that, just accepting mistakes, but learning from them. And so this person also brings in that R equals T, so that makes a lot of sense. Also brings in a quote from Pluto, where the quote is, science is nothing but perception. But then the author comes in to say, but perception is what is not beholden to science alone. So in that perception, this person is also a scientist, going over what mistakes can do and that you can learn from them and create a mental resilience from them. But also sometimes through mistakes, especially in science, sometimes those mistakes can end up in discovering something that you weren't quite looking for, but now that you know, and now you have to write about it. So you end up failing, but failing correctly in a different way. And so that really resonates with me because, yes, learning can be scary for a lot of people because you think that the world is ending and you messed up and everything's over. But you learn, you move on, and you just get back up and you keep trying. That's the most important part. The last one also goes over historical thinking, that it's not enough to be a historian. You also have to be a teacher. And teaching are having those teachers reach out and basically help those educators move from just that research to that teaching position. So learning how to connect that bridge, like the other two articles mentioned. And so I'm a little over time, but I really loved these, and they just brought in a whole bunch of information to me that I'm already doing, but kind of opened my eyes as to see what I'm doing so that I can continue that process. So thank you guys so much.